Now, away from the US, a critical question. Now, let's head over to Israel in Gaza. Israel's demolition of high-rise buildings in Gaza City has left hundreds homeless and raised concerns that Palestinians may be permanently forced out, according to residents and the UN Human Rights Office. The intensified campaign began on September 5th when an airstrike brought down the 15-story Mushtaha Tower. Residents said the destruction of tower blocks, along with demolition across Zaytun, Tofa, Shijai, and Sheikh Al Radwan, signals an effort to clear densely populated neighborhoods ahead of Israel's ground assault. Let's take a look. Israel's military says it has targeted around 20 high-rise blocks in Gaza City in recent weeks, describing them as Hamas infrastructure. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed 50 terrorist towers were destroyed. The military insists it has no strategy to flatten Gaza, arguing that tall buildings are used for surveillance and attacks, although Hamas denies the allegation. The UN Human Rights Office warned that deliberate efforts to relocate residents could amount to ethnic cleansing. Israel's actions come as UN experts and rights groups caution that widespread destruction of civilian housing and infrastructure may constitute war crimes. The war, now nearing its second year, has killed more than 65,000 Palestinians, displaced most of the population, and pushed much of Gaza into famine, according to UN figures. An inquiry last week concluded that Israel had committed genocide in Gaza, a finding Israel rejected as biased. Marco Rubio, the National Secretary, has this to say. Let's take a look.
I prefer that this end with a negotiated settlement that leads to the release of every single Hamas, alive and deceased, that leads to the demilitarization and disarming of Hamas, so they can no longer pose a threat, not just to Israel, but everyone.
Marco Rubio calling for the immediate release of hostages. Residents described panic and despair as evacuations were ordered with little warning before demolitions. Meanwhile, the Israeli military later claimed Hamas maintained underground infrastructure beneath the site, but did not provide evidence. Let's take a look. Beyond the city center, controlled demolitions are being reported daily. The conflict monitoring group, ACLED, documented more than 170 demolitions in Gaza City since early August, a higher pace than in the first 15 months of the war. The United Nations data shows nearly 80% of Gaza's buildings, about 247,000 structures, have been damaged or destroyed since the conflict began. However, the war for a two-state recognition of Palestinians has been a surge of disagreement between global leaders. Let's take a look.
I want the hostages released now, right now, not 1, 2, we'll give you 3 more tomorrow. And, like it's been, but we're the ones that got all the hostages released. We got many, many came to the Oval Office, and I've heard stories like I've never thought even possible.
Aid organizations warn that demolitions of the remaining towers, which often shelter displaced families, will worsen overcrowding in the south. Analysts say the widening destruction raises questions about whether military objectives and political goals are diverging, with some Israeli officials openly discussing clearing Palestinians for future redevelopment. As the offensive continues, residents forced from their homes face uncertainty over whether they will ever and maybe return. Now that's all for Israel and Hamas.